Okay, now we have chemical reaction patterns. So let's discuss some patterns with chemical reactions and involving that kind of stuff. So here we have balancing equations coming up soon. Warm up, periodic table. I'll let you kind of do that stuff on your own. But chemical equations. So what happens in a chemical reaction? First, if you go back to a couple other videos I've done, I've shown you some examples of chemical reactions like cooking noodles, like what goes on, and making toast. It's a cool chemical reaction. A chemical reaction is a process that involves the arrangement of atoms, molecules, and both to form new substances. So the substance completely changes into something else. Chemical equations, and now here we go, the symbolic representation of a chemical reaction. Now we have this right here, chemical equation, like what happens in the chemical equation and how to balance it out. Okay, parts of a chemical equation. Reactant, a substance that is present at the beginning of a chemical reaction and transformed by the reaction. Products, a substance formed in the chemical reaction. That's the product is what is formed. Okay, so let's go to what's next. Here we go. We have water right here, H2O, liquid product. Then we have H2CO3, aqueous reactant, and then CO2, gaseous product. So that's just a couple examples. And exothermic reaction, a chemical reaction that releases energy. But as you know, the law of conservation of energy states energy is neither gained or lost or created nor destroyed. So in every chemical reaction, energy is either gained or lost. So if something is occurring, but there's energy is still present during the entire time. So let's see what's next. So exothermic reaction, endothermic reaction. So now we did exothermic on the previous slide. This is endothermic, which means a chemical reaction absorbs the energy. So something is happening to the energy. It's not being created or destroyed. It's just gaining or losing, or something is going on with the energy. Okay, now let's see what's next. So here we have a couple examples, endothermic and exothermic. So I'll go over the first two on each. Endothermic cold packs are used to treat sports injuries. The temperature drop in the cold pack is activated by mixing ammonia nitrate with water. Pretty interesting. So if you've seen like those ice packs before, when you shake it up or you kind of break up the little pieces, it becomes cold because ammonium nitrate reacts with the water inside of it. Fun fact. And then some of them are reusable too, so you can put them back in the freezer and reuse it, or it kind of comes back together. They're pretty interesting. It's salt water can be used to treat a sore throat. Pouring salt into the water removes some of the energy from the water. So salt water usually can help your throat feel better. Kind of gives it like a coating if you're drinking salt water, and kind of makes it less sore. Sodium bicarbonate reacts with the citric acid. The temperature of the reaction mixture drops by 6.8 degrees Celsius. Okay, now let's go over exothermic reactions. So then the next one is the chemical equation for hydrogen reacting with oxygen shows water and energy in the product. And then zinc powder stirred into a beaker containing copper sulfate, and then the beaker feels warmer to touch. Pretty interesting. Last one, carbon in charcoal reacts with the oxygen in the air, and the reaction produces heat for cooking. So that's why your grill with charcoal produces the heat. The carbon reacts with the oxygen in the air, and then it heats up the grill, and you can cook with it. Balancing equations, basically how are you going to balance this so it is equal to each other. Coefficients, kind of like algebra. Number that precedes a chemical in the formula. Okay, in a chemical equation, indicating the proportion of substances involved in the chemical reaction. Okay. Next, all right, here's just some more chemical equations and how to balance it. Here you'll have to balance some of the chemical equations. I'll let you do that on your own on the tutorial. Here, this is just showing examples of how to balance equations. How to start, like what atom should you start with and why. math review, usually you're going to do like the least common multiple or greatest common factor, something along those lines. Be sure to look at this review. This will definitely come in handy when you are balancing a chemical equation. Fun fact, because I bet you didn't think that math was used a lot in chemistry. Hydrogen peroxide here. I'm sure you've seen this in your house before too. Okay, let's go to, here we go. We have some more balancing of chemical equations, types of chemical reactions coming up next. Synthesis and decomposition. Here, it's just basically showing you what happens during this chemical reaction or what takes place as well. So, next one, questions. I'll have you answer these questions on your own. And same thing with all of this stuff. All right, and then hopefully that clears up some chemical reactions and makes it a little bit less confusing, and hope you enjoyed.